Hello, it's me, it's Craig here at Fludded, hiding my face from the microphone, with the microphone from you because I'm shy. And I want to talk about Laurence, stop thinking Krause, Laurence Fox and his socks. What is he thinking? What is he doing? What a numpty. Do you need help? Let us know. I will happily oblige. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on with broadcasting. GBnews is so interesting to me on a personal level because I see so many sort of production mistakes going on there. And I get a sense that there are people who kind of know what they're doing, but it's vague. There are some very professional, brilliant presenters there. Like, there are many whose names escape me right now, but there are many. Full disclaimer, I've been on the show and I would do it again because I believe that it's not healthy to have a triggered impulse to a whole organization like GBnews or Good Morning Britain or whoever your organization is, just because there's a few bad eggs in the pot. Everything can change, everyone can change, and being out of that sort of environment, being out of the involvement in it can mean that you will be ineffective. So just keep talking to the people you don't like. Get to know your enemies. I got no, by the way, my invitation and experience on GBnews was nothing but positive. Mark Dolan is a brilliant guy. Very nice, very polite, bigged me up massively when I was on there. And the producer who spoke to me before I went on air kept calling me sir. And, it was just very respectfully done. And it seemed to be slick enough, although they're an IP-based broadcaster. So there's a few sort of technical things for them to get their heads around. Probably infinitely easier than broadcasting via satellite or via towers and masts and stuff like that. Anyway, this is all by the by. Laurence Krause said something, and it was kind of shocking, and it shocked the world. The world is now shocked. This is me being shocked. I'm shocked. And he was commenting on a clip. They played a clip from a BBC Politics show, which had Jeff Norcott and Eva... I can't remember her last name. Santini? I can't remember her last name. Apologies if you're watching this. But let's just play it and you tell me what you think of this. I'll stay in picture so you can see.
It's the biggest cause of death for men under 50 is suicide.
Just this bit isn't actually all that important. It's a really good point that Jeff's making about suicides of men. Whereas with men, but it's what is often why are they doing that happens when it goes back to the GBnews studio. So here's Eva talking.
For men argument, and I think a lot of ministers kind of bandy this about to sort of, I'm sorry, but make an enemy out of women.
I mean, literally, the biggest killer of men under 50 is suicide. That is an arresting statistic. And
right. So before we hear Laurence's response to this clip, I just want to point out Jeff's behaviour of talking to somebody who disagrees with him, and he's not triggered, he's not angry, he's not tearing his hair out, he's not running his fingers through his hair, and he's certainly not talking to her about her personal life. Is he, Laurence? Because Jeff Norcott, guess what, is an adult. Remember them?
If that doesn't warrant specific attention,
he's an adult.
Mental health is an umbrella issue.
I have to say that is also because women are unsuccessful. That is a lot of that is
right.
Feeds into that statistic.
Right, she's talking crap, but she believes it, and that's the important thing. So, she 100% believes what she's saying. So here we go. Here we come back to GBnews. I mean, it's clown world, this show. This Dan Wootton show is clown world. He calls his guests superstar guests or whatever. I mean, it's bonkers.
Laurence, just total disdain there.
Man, what wave of feminism are we on? Is it?
When I first saw this, my first reaction when I saw Laurence at his house alone late at night, my first reaction was, is he stoned? Has he been drinking? Why shouldn't he have been? I'm not saying he is stoned. I'm not saying he was drinking, but that's what I wondered when I watched it. Is that what you've been doing? Because your whole demeanour, your whole behaviour is, are you squeezing this in between doing a million other things that night? is too laid back. It's too familiar. It's too relaxed. He's not taking the show seriously. He's not taking the channel seriously. He should be all prim and ready to go and like have a little bit of edge and anxiousness and sitting upright and not all this running is this exasperation. I don't know what I'm doing.
Is it fourth, fifth at this juncture? We're past the watershed, so I can say this.
We're past the watershed, so I can say this. That alarm bells were crying out in my head. What's he going to say? By the way, just pointing out, it says Laurence Fox, GB News presenter. That's his job.
Show me a single self-respecting man that would like to climb into bed with that woman ever, who wasn't an incel, who wasn't a cucked little incel.
Who wasn't a cucked little incel. Hard left commentator slammed for shrugging off male suicide crisis. Who's slamming? They're slamming. This is they're creating their own story. They're supposed to be reporting on somebody slamming, but they're doing the slamming. They're reporting on themselves. They're making the story. It's who's slammed. They don't tell you. It's so bizarre.
That little woman has been fed, spoon-fed oppression day after day after day after day, starting with the lie of the gender wage gap. And she sat there and I'm going like, if I met you in a bar and that was like sentence 3, chances of me just walking away are just huge. We need powerful, strong, amazing women who make great points for themselves.
You see, he's making the point about feminists are not attractive to men. For some reason, he thinks that's an interesting point to make, which is a fair point to make. But he's been talking specifically about her, about people sleeping with her. And that's where he's out of line.
We don't need these sort of feminist 4.0. They're pathetic and embarrassing. Who'd want to shag that?
Now, just to say that him saying that is not the same as saying that somebody's unattractive, right? It's such a grotesque way of putting it, and it's unpolite. And I want you to remember that word, polite. Laurence Fox is not being polite. And the fact that he's this, I mean, to use a leftist term, triggered, and that's what he is. This is what the left do. This is how the left behave. This is the screaming woman on the lawn at Trump's inauguration, absolutely failing to cope with other people having a different perspective from him. The perspective in what she's saying is wrong. And what Jeff Norcott is saying is right, I think, and it's important to talk about it. But this whole conversation's been completely overshadowed now by this guy behaving like a massive baby. And it drives me nuts that GB News are letting these people be this out of control. Why are you giving presenters this much freedom to just behave this badly? He should be contracted to be a contributor on the show, and we require you, when you come on the show, to be, in a room. The laptop needs to be up. It needs to be playing background behind you, not on the coffee table in the lounge. Like you've just, you're just come in to do this conversation while you've got your, tagliatelle on in the kitchen. It's like, like you're squeezing it into your evening. It's so bizarre. It's so rubbish.
Oh, Laurence. Well, look,
Look at him laughing. Oh, sorry, you can't see it. But the reaction from Dan Wootton was just equally bad. Anyway, there's been a little bit of an upset about this. We've had various people coming out talking about it. And let me see if I can find them. One of them is Michelle Dewberry. See if I can make this tweet look slightly bigger. She said, I have a simple rule which I try my best to stick to. Robust debate, unnecessary rudeness, no. Right? If others on all sides of the fence did the same, this country and beyond would be a happier place. We don't need to bully. We don't need to abuse. We need to debate respectfully. Now, what's annoying about that, Michelle, is that why aren't you saying he was a bully, he was abusive? Name the guy. That's what I replied to it. Just words. These are just words. Blah, 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 blah. You need to come out and directly criticize him and say, I'd even be as bold as either get rid of him or I'm out. Because that's what I hope she's saying to them today. Get rid of him or I'm gone, because he is embarrassing to the channel. Just words. Name who you're talking about. Call him to be kicked off the channel. Failure to do this equals no change whatsoever. The channel is tainted. It completely is tainted. That wasn't the only one, by the way. There was other people responding to this whole business. Least of all, Laurence Fox responded to that, because you know what happened? Good Morning Britain banned him. They didn't ban him, but they suspended him. GBnews has formally suspended Laurence Fox while we continue our investigation into comments he made on the channel last night. Right, this is he's going to make out this is they knew what I was going to say. Mr. Fox's suspension is effective immediately, and he will be taken off air. We will be apologising formally to Miss Evans today. Right, her name's Ava Evans. Then sorry about that, Ava. Laurence Fox then published the text, where they have a pre-conversation. Now, I was also on Good Britain News, Great Britain News, gbnews, and I did get a message telling me what they wanted to talk about, but nobody asked me specifically what I was going to say, to be fair. Laurence Fox says, by matter of interest for the audience, contributors do a pre-interview before going on. It's not exactly true, not all the time, and I would expect it to be so, especially when somebody is this cocky and confident with the channel. Why did the BBC allow a hard-left commentator to dismiss the heartfelt plea about male suicide? And it says this. This is whatever wave of feminism we're now on. It's just pure man-hating. People always forget, blah, blah, blah. What man would ever want to be in a relationship with a woman unless they were self-hating? That's what he said he was going to say. That's not what he said. That's not what you said. You talked about who'd want to shag her. You talked about who would sleep with her, specifically, Ava. That's not what you said you were going to say. You didn't comment generally about feminists, did you? It's just awful. It's a horrible, 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 horrible mess. And I think that it's a big shame that television is kind of like this. We need producers to be in charge again. I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it. Producers need to be in charge. Presenters less so. Presenters are walking in, calling the shots, saying who the guests are going to be. Somebody like we certainly don't need politicians to be called presenters. They're not presenters. They're politicians. And gbnews has Richard Tice, Farage, Laurence Fox. All these people are from the same circle. And, it's Darren Grimes. It's got like YouTubers there, Calvin Robinson. These are all like YouTube-y type people who are now walking around happily embracing the title of being professional broadcasters and presenters without any sort of training or grounding in it whatsoever. They've just been chucked in front of some cameras and told to talk. Now, having said that, people like Calvin Robinson can actually talk. He's a good talker. He can talk really well. So that's can Laurence Krauss, as can Laurence Fox, as can Nigel Farage. These people can all talk for England. They can keep going. But it's the perspectives that they're coming from. That if you do the sum of gbnews, it's not balanced. If you do the sum of the output, the sum of the ideas you're hearing, it isn't balanced. And they know it, and we know it, and everyone knows it. It doesn't. If you've got three people there all speaking right-wing talking points, and then you've got one person from the left, you're not really balancing the arguments out. And I've heard certainly on Dan Wootton's show, when you do have somebody from the left, he tends to like shout over them and, well, you're an idiot. And also on the 5 Live conversation where they have that poor left guy who's a numpty, and they just, Benjamin Butterworth or whatever he's called, they just totally dismiss him and what he says. It's almost like these leftist pundits are placed on the show, but they're MacGuffins, really. They're totally ignored. They're there for the token gesture of appearing to be balanced, but they just can't really get any sort of people of really sort of heavyweight people. I mean, they're inviting me on there, for God's sake. You get lots of former RAF this and former executive to that and former police chief inspector and former, all these retired people in their homes with the, with the patio behind them as they're being interviewed and like, oh, hello, you want to talk to me? I've just been pretty the roses. It's literally like that. And it's such a shame because I mean, I'm fascinated. I'm a little bit obsessed with GB News because they do see it is interesting what's happening, and it is having an impact on the broadcasting industry. They're certainly the enemies of the broadcasting industry. Pretty much a lot of people, I could show you, but a lot of people have come out commenting about how vile and disgusting people from LBC have, BBC have. These are other presenters just saying that what a vile thing Laurence Fox has said. I'm 100% in agreement with them. Laurence Fox should be chucked off that channel. They should also remove all the people I mentioned before as presenters and have them as contributors. Politicians shouldn't be presenters. Certainly should be having monologues from Richard Tice, basically outlining, the manifesto of the party he's the chairman of or the boss of, whatever he is of. I don't really care. The reframe, reform, remanage, reorganize, whatever his party's called. But I am kind of, as you might have guessed, I'm kind of politically, I can't stand the left and I can't stand this side of the right. People like Jeff Norcott are more up my alley in terms of balanced, level-headed grown-ups having a conversation. When you have, I want the moderate right and the moderate left to start talking to each other. And I will comment on that. But what we've got is we're just hearing things from just to the right of the moderates, kind of like extreme anger. We're hearing angry voices trying to have conversations with one another. And GB News needs to level that out a little bit and make it. And it's very good to get it edgy because it gets good clips. So maybe they're not interested in fixing the problem. Maybe they are just interested in, when is it going to stop having a mission? When's it going to start being, okay, well, this is all about actually generating revenue. Anyway, that's my little bit. How do you feel about what Laurence Fox did? The issue around free speech is the free speech, by the way, is not the same as broadcasting. Free speech doesn't mean you can broadcast what you want. You can go out on the street and say what you want. You might find that you break laws by doing it. But in terms of broadcasting, people are not allowed to just broadcast what they like. There's broadcasting codes, and GB News don't do it. They don't put porn on. Why is that? Free speech, free expression. Well, there's a reason they don't do it, because they know they can't do it. You know they can't do it. We all know they can't do it. That is the censorship that exists. These are rules of broadcasting code that exist. And, there's guidelines you can get. This is a very old BBC one that I learned from. Very old. Look, it's even got the old logo. But, the new BBC guidelines are up there on their website. If you want to go and read them, guidelines about how to behave to stay within the broadcasting code. And it's just disappointing that GB News continually fails to demonstrate that it's got any understanding of that whatsoever. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I'm always there to respond to things you say. And I appreciate you watching this. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.